Hello and welcome to the Garden Shop How to Garden video. In this video I want to show you how to prepare your soil prior to sowing your vegetables in spring. So what I mean by preparing your soil is really digging over your soil and removing all the roots and rocks from your soil and creating a light, airy soil that has good drainage and good fertility. So when to prepare your soil? Ideally you should prepare your soil the season before you begin sowing it. So if you want to sow in spring, it's recommended that you begin preparing your soil in the previous season, in autumn ideally. The reason for preparing your soil the previous season is to give your soil the chance to settle down and for all the nutrients to break down in the soil and for all the worms and insects to work their way back into the soil so that life really returns to the soil. So what we will do now is just show you the process of digging your soil. It's a process called double digging. So we see here we have our vegetable bed here already dug over, and I've just started to create a trench here for our next row of double digging. So as you go along you should always remove any weeds and roots along the way. So I'm going to start now the process, and it involves digging a trench right across the plot. Okay, so what we call it double digging because you go down the full depth of your spade like this. Take the pile and throw it in front of you. As you go along, remove any weeds, trying to get the roots as you go. Okay, just going to go all the way along this trench here. Again, if you're going to pull any weeds, you need to get the roots of them as well while you're getting them out. Okay. We see I have a grass here. It should be easy enough just to pull that before I dig it. So again, you're just digging a trench and throwing the pile in front of you and breaking down the clumps with the back of your spade. So some roots are bigger than others, and you want to get all the roots out, otherwise the plants can grow back again. So with my spade I'm going down the depth of about 1 foot. So you can see how deep some of these roots can go. That one's about 9 inches long. You want to get the whole lot of it out. And we have here a dock leaf, which are generally very deep in the soil. So I'm going to stick the spade down as far as I can just to get this root out. So I didn't get all of it because you can see it should be a little bit pointier on the end, but I got the majority of that weed out there. So again, just dig your trench and throw it in front of you. Again, if you come across any weeds like this, or roots like this, these need to come out as well because these are the weeds of a switchgrass. Okay, so I'll just finish out my trench. Out this grass here. So once you have your first trench dug out, you then just want to get it down deep enough to about a foot in depth. And now what we will do is we will fork the bottom of that trench. And that's why it's called double digging, because we've already gone down 1 foot in depth, but now we take the fork and stick it down into the bottom of the trench as far down as it'll go, and just give the bottom layer of soil a bit of a lift. Just like that, and you go all the way along your trench, sticking the fork down as far as it'll go and just lifting backward on the fork, and that way it's rising up the soil beneath. So what this is really doing is loosening up the lower soil. It's even rising up the subsoil a little bit, which is no problem. Just a little bit. And it's also improving airflow into the soil and therefore drainage.
Okay, now that we have forked the row, we then have a chance now to add some fertility to the lower layers of the soil. And with that, we're going to use farmyard manure. So you just want to spread about 4 inches along the base of the trench, which is, in this case, it's going to be 2 big fork loads. When you're using farmyard manure, be sure that it's well rotted and broken down fully. If it's not, you'll want to add it deeper down into your soil. Okay, now that's added. So that's one row completed. And now to finish the job, we start the next trench behind that, like this. And you simply just push that trench in front of you into the previous trench. Again, removing all the weeds as you go. And then you just continue along until you get to the edge of your row. So that's really it. You do the first row. You then fork the base of the row, add fertilizer, and then begin your second trench. Now that I have my second trench done, I will go back and fork it, and then after I fork it, I will add the farmyard manure, and I will continue the process to the end of the vegetable plot. And then the result of that is you will have a lighter soil which has had its air returned to the soil. By adding the farmyard manure, you're improving fertility and drainage in the soil, and also farmyard manure helps to improve life in the soil, adding bacteria and worms into the soil. So that's it really. Now we want to let that soil settle, let the nutrients break down and let the life work its way back into the soil, and then in the middle of spring, heading in toward the end of March, we will just rake that area level, prepare our drills, and then sow our seeds or else transplant our seedlings directly into the soil. So that's it really. That's the process of preparing your soil. Another video from thegardenshop.ie.